I never thought family could fracture like glass under a boot heel. But there I was, 9 centimeters dilated, gasping through contractions in that godforsaken Springfield, Illinois hospital room, when my brother Ethan slid into the doorway like a shadow with a smile that didn't reach his eyes.
Vic.
It's 60 grand or they break my legs, your nephew's future. Our blood, he whispered, as if the nurses buzzing around my foredrip were deaf to his bullshit. And just like that, with my water broken and my world contracting around the baby about to crown, I spat out the word that shattered everything. No. The room went still, save for the beeping monitors mocking my heartbeat. My parents, who'd driven 3 hours from their cookie-cutter ranch in Peoria to support me, turned on me like I'd just confessed to poisoning the well. Dad's face purpled, veins bulging like the Ohio River in flood season. Mom clutched her purse like a shield, muttering about ingratitude while Ethan's eyes, those cold, calculating fox eyes, flickered with something darker than desperation. They didn't yell. Not at first. They just left. Slipped out the door with Ethan's arm around Mom's shoulders. Dad barking into his phone about disloyalty, abandoning my 7-year-old son Timmy in the waiting room like yesterday's takeout container. I screamed for them through the next contraction. Not for the pain, but for the betrayal that hit harder than any epidural could numb. Timmy found me hours later. After the nurses pieced it together from the security footage, grainy black and white showing him wandering the halls, tear-streaked and calling for Grandma until a candy striper scooped him up. The baby, little Emma, came into the world at 2:17 a.m., all pink and furious, while I lay there staring at the ceiling tiles, calculating how a single syllable had cost me my family. Ethan had always been the golden boy, the one who'd skate through community college on Dad's connections only to drop out and chase get-rich-quick schemes from crypto scams to flipping houses he never owned. I'd bailed him out twice before, once with my signing bonus from the bank job in Chicago, another time liquidating my 401k after his sure-thing poker tournament in Vegas left him 60 grand in hock to some East Coast wise guys. But that night, with Timmy's crayon drawings taped to my hospital fridge back home and this new life kicking its way free, I drew the line. Family helps family, Ethan had texted mid-contraction, a photo of his bruised knuckles attached like a guilt trip. I deleted it. And they deleted us. The fallout hit like a Midwest blizzard, swift, blinding, and bone deep. Social services got involved because, yeah, ditching a kid in a hospital waiting room qualifies as endangerment in Illinois. Cops knocked on my door 2 days post-discharge. Emma swaddled against my chest, Timmy glued to my leg like he'd never let go again.
Ma'am.
Your parents filed a report saying you were unstable, postpartum delusions or some shit, the officer drawled, his badge glinting under the fluorescent porch light of my walk-up in the South Side. Unstable? I'd raised Timmy solo since his deadbeat dad bolted for a better gig in Texas when the kid was 2, juggling night shifts at the call center and community college courses in accounting. I'd covered for Ethan's screw-ups since we were teens, lying to Mom about his joyrides in Dad's truck, forging report cards when his grades tanked. Hell, 5 years back, when Ethan borrowed 10 grand from the family auto shop's till and pinned it on a phantom employee, I'd confessed to the auditors myself. It was me. A momentary lapse. I'd told the suits, eating the misdemeanor charge and 6 months probation to keep his record clean. Our blood, he'd said then, hugging me in the station parking lot, tears in his eyes. Lies. All of it. But that no in the delivery room, it unearthed every buried resentment, every secret I'd swallowed like bad diner coffee. For weeks, the silence was deafening. No calls from Peoria. No Facebook likes on Timmy's school photos. Nothing. I scraped by on WIC checks and overtime. Emma's cries a soundtrack to my rage-fueled insomnia. That's when the letters started arriving, certified mail. Ethan's chicken scratch signature on the returns.
Vic.
You owe us. That money was for the shop. To keep Dad's dream alive. Bullshit. I'd hacked into his email once. Years ago. Out of sisterly worry, offshore accounts, emails to bookies in Atlantic City. A trail of digital breadcrumbs leading to a Ponzi scheme he'd roped in half our cousins. The 60 grand wasn't for legs or nephews. It was to plug the hole in his latest con. A fake solar panel startup he'd pitched to old high school buddies. And Mom and Dad? They knew. Dad's investments in Ethan's ventures had drained their retirement. But they'd rather blame me, the divorced mom with questionable morals, than admit their boy was a serpent in khakis. I started small with the revenge. Because you don't swing a sledgehammer at a hornet's nest without a plan. First, I lawyered up on contingency with a pit bull from legal aid who'd handled custody battles like mine. We sued for abandonment, emotional distress, endangerment, the works. The discovery phase was gold. Emails from Mom to Ethan post-hospital. We'll cut her off cold. Teach the bitch a lesson. Dad's bank statements showing wire transfers to Ethan's business accounts. Right up until my Labor Day. Timmy's therapist notes on his night terrors. The kid waking up screaming about Grandma's angry face. The judge, a no-nonsense widow from Decatur, slapped them with supervised visitation and a fat settlement. 50 grand for Timmy's therapy fund. Plus attorney's fees. I watched from the gallery as Mom sobbed into a lace hanky. Dad stone-faced beside her. Ethan slouched in the back row like a bad extra in a courtroom drama. This isn't over. Vic, he hissed as we filed out. His breath hot with cheap whiskey. Blood's thicker than court orders. But it was over for them. Or so I thought. The money bought us breathing room, a down payment on a 2-bedroom in the suburbs. Montessori for Timmy. Organic formula for Emma that didn't taste like regret. I even started dating again. A quiet engineer named Mark from the PDA who brought donuts to soccer practice and didn't flinch at my baggage. Life edged toward normal. The kind of apple pie Americana you see in Subaru ads. Until the flip. Ethan showed up at my door 6 months later. Rain-soaked and hollow-eyed. A duffel bag slung over his shoulder like a prodigal son script. I'm clean.
Vic.
Rehab in Iowa. 12 steps. The whole 9. I need a place to crash, just till I get on my feet. His eyes. Those damn eyes. Brimmed with what looked like genuine contrition. Mom had cancer. Stage 3. He said, pancreatic. The silent killer. Dad was crumbling. Drinking himself into early dementia. They miss the kids. We all do. I let him in. God help me.
I did.
It was the Midwestern in me, the forgive and forget baked into every potluck casserole. Timmy warmed to him first. Uncle Ethan with his magic tricks and stories of our wild childhood summers at Lake Springfield. Fishing for crappie till dusk. Emma cooed at his goofy faces. Even Mark gave a cautious nod over backyard burgers. Ethan got a job, entry-level sales at a car lot. Legit hours, and chipped in for groceries. For a month, it was almost idyllic. A fractured family superglued back together. He opened up over late-night whiskeys, the gambling compulsion, the shame of dragging me down, how Mom's diagnosis had cracked his facade. I covered for you once, I admitted one night. The kids asleep upstairs. That shop money? I took the heat. He froze. then hugged me fierce. I know,
Vic.
and I'll spend my life making it right.
Lies.
Always lies. I found out on a Tuesday, scrolling through his phone while he showered. Old habits die hard. Text to a burner number, she's folding. Get the docs ready. Forge the custody transfer. $60K covers the judge's donation. Attached, scans of Timmy's birth certificate. Emma's social security card. The plan was elegant in its venom, Ethan. Posing as the reformed uncle. Would rescue the kids from my instability, using planted evidence, doctored psych evals. Anonymous CPS tips, to flip custody to mom and dad. The settlement money? Funneled back to him for bribes. Mom's cancer? A prop. Her Facebook posts glowed with cruise ship vacas to Mexico. Dad's dementia? Selective. Vanishing when lotto tickets needed scratching. It was all a long con. The abandonment just the opening act to strip me bare and steal my kids for leverage in some deeper grift. Ethan's solar scam had ballooned into a full-blown fraud ring, targeting retirees in swing states. And my generous family needed collateral. My babies. Rage doesn't build, it erupts. I confronted him that night. Emma on my hip. Timmy peeking from the stairs. You slimy fuck, I whispered, shoving the phone at his chest. His face flipped, contrition to contempt in a heartbeat. You were always the weak link.
Vic.
Taking falls for me? Pathetic. Now sign the papers. Or the kids see what a junkie mom really looks like. Junkie? That's when the secret I'd buried deepest clawed free, the relapse he'd staged years ago. Slipping pills into my wine at Thanksgiving to frame me as unfit. Ensuring I'd never challenge his inheritance play. I'd flushed them. Covered it up. But the photos existed, photoshopped files in my purse. Time-stamped. He had them. Ready to weaponize. I didn't call the cops.
Not yet.
Revenge isn't a 911 call, it's a slow burn. American as apple pie a la mode with arsenic sprinkles. I played along, signing fake docs while wiring Mark to ghost an IT buddy at the FBI's Chicago field office. Ethan thought he had me cornered. Preening at family dinners. Whispering to Timmy about better schools in Peoria. But I was digging. Unearthing his web. Shell companies in Delaware. Victims' affidavits from bilked widows in Ohio. The twist came mid-scheme. When Dad cornered me in the kitchen. Whiskey on his breath. He's using us. Victoria. Always has.
But the shop.
It's all we got left. Using them? They'd known about the abandonment plot. Signed off on leaving Timmy to toughen you up.
No.
Dad was complicit. His dream shop a front for Ethan's laundering. Mom's cancer, a tax dodge. They weren't victims. They were co-conspirators. Flipping faces to suit the score. The climax hit on a humid July evening. 4th of fireworks popping like gunfire over the Mississippi. Ethan had arranged the transfer, a shady mediator in a East St. Louis motel. The kind with hourly rates and roaches the size of thumbs. I arrived alone. Kids safe with Mark at a safe house. A USB drive burning a hole in my pocket. Irrefutable proof of the fraud ring. Ethan's emails confessing to the abandonment as psychological leverage, even the forged psych reports. The room reeked of stale smoke and desperation. The mediator, a paunchy ex-cop with a comb-over, shuffling papers under a buzzing neon sign. Ethan lounged on the bed, smug as a televangelist. Sign.
Vic.
Walk away with your dignity. I slid the USB across the table. Play it. His bluff cracked as the audio filled the room, his own voice. Recorded on my hidden nanny cam, The kids are the key. Once we have 'em, she folds, and the money flows. The mediator bolted, mumbling about warrants. Ethan lunged, fists flying, but I was ready, pepper spray for my purse, the burn in his eyes mirroring the one in my gut. We grappled, crashing into the dresser, mirrors shattering like our shared history. You think you're the hero? He snarled, blood trickling from his lip, not gore, just enough to stain the carpet. I built this family. You're the whore who spread for Timmy's dad and ruined us. That's when the door flew open. Feds and windbreakers. Badges flashing. Mark's IT pal leading the charge. Ethan went down in cuffs, screaming obscenities about blood betrayal. But the real gut punch? As they hauled him out, Dad and Mom pulled up in the shop's old Ford, headlights cutting the night like judgment. They weren't there to save him. They were there to cut a deal. Victoria, Mom pleaded through the window, her face gaunt, not from cancer, but conscience. He's the devil we made.
Take the shop.
End this. Dad nodded, eyes wet. We were wrong. About everything. I stood there, rain mixing with sweat, the choice a razor on my throat. Hand Ethan to the feds. Watch the family empire such as it was crumble. Kids safe but scarred by the truth? Or cut a side deal. Bury the evidence. Let Ethan rot in county while I rebuilt on their bones? The controversial call. I chose the gray. Whispered to the lead agent about mitigating factors. Mom's fabricated illness as elder abuse cover. Dad's complicity as coerced. They took the bait. Reduced charges to fraud alone. No abandonment prosecution. Ethan got 5 years in Pekin Federal. The shop deeded to me in exchange for silence. Timmy and Emma? They got therapy, a puppy, and summers at the lake, without the poison.
But the twist?
6 months later, a letter from Ethan, postmarked from prison. You think you won? Timmy's not yours.
Vic.
Blood test from the custody scare. His dad's back in town, claiming rights. I covered it for you.
Sis.
Our secret. Liar or truth? The lab report I'd buried. The one showing discrepancies I'd chalked up to error.
Now,
with his parole hearing looming, the debate rages in my head. Expose it? Risk losing my boy to a ghost? Or let the con man dangle one last thread? Pulling us all under? Family's a loaded gun. And I'm still deciding who to aim it at. Maybe that's the real revenge, living with the ambiguity. The eternal what-if that keeps you up at night in this heartland hell. The months after the motel showdown blurred into a haze of court dates and custody drills. The kind of bureaucratic quicksand that sucks the soul right out of you. Springfield's federal courthouse became my second home. All marble halls echoing with the ghosts of better decisions. I'd park the minivan in the lot, Emma's car seat strapped tight, Timmy's booster with its faded Spider-Man cover, and steel myself for the circus inside. Reporters lurked like vultures, their notepads hungry for the Midwest family feud angle, single mom versus sleazy brother. Abandonment scandal with a side of white-collar crime. I dodged them with mirrored shades and a no-comment snarl. But inside, the fracture lines deepened. Mark stuck by me, his engineer's logic a bomb against the chaos, one gear at a time. Vic, but even he eyed me sideways after the deal, with the feds leaked via some clerk's big mouth. You let them skate? He'd ask over takeout Thai. Fork pausing mid-noodle. For what? A greasy garage. The shop. Dad's pride. Peoria Auto Haven, with its rusted sign swinging like a hanged man in the wind, was the what. I'd driven up there the week after Ethan's sentencing. Keys jangling in my fist like shackles. Mom and Dad waited on the stoop. Her in a muumuu that hung loose on her chemo-ravaged frame, real this time. Irony's cruel joke. Him hunched over a thermos of Folgers, eyes red-rimmed from more than hangovers. "It's yours now," Dad grunted, shoving the deed across the oil-stained workbench. No hugs. No apologies, just a ledger of debts and a Rolodex of suppliers. I'd nodded, swallowing the bile, because owning the beast meant controlling it. Ethan had laundered at least 200 grand through those bay doors. Fake invoices for parts that never shipped, wired to Cayman accounts. The feds had seized the big fish. But the minnows? Mine to fry or flush. I dove in head first, trading call center drudgery for grease monkey grit. Hired a crew of ex-cons from the local halfway house, tattooed vets with steady hands and fewer questions, and turned the place around. Solar panels on the roof, poetic justice. Eco-friendly oils. A loyalty program for single moms like me. Profits ticked up. Enough to fund Timmy's braces and Emma's ballet tights. But revenge isn't a balance sheet. It's the itch under your skin. The what-if that whispers at 3 a.m. Ethan's letter haunted me. That bombshell about Timmy's paternity tucked like a stinger in its envelope. I'd burned it at first. Flames licking the trailer park edges in my backyard fire pit. But the words charred into my brain. His dad's back, claiming rights. I covered it for you. Bullshit. Probably. Another con to yank my chain from behind bars. But doubt's a motherfucker. Especially when your ex,
Jake,
surfaces like a bad penny. Jake rolled into town Labor Day weekend, all tanned from Texas oil rigs. AF 150 gleaming in my driveway like an accusation. Timmy spotted him first, yelling "Daddy" from the swing set, and my heart dropped like a busted transmission. Heard about the drama, Jake drawled. Stetson tipped back, a six-pack dangling from his fingers. Thought I'd check on my boy.
His boy.
We'd split amicable-ish 7 years back, me pregnant. Him chasing pipeline dreams, but he'd sent cards at Christmas. $50 at birthdays.
Now?
Eyes on the shop's ledger I'd left out. Questions about that settlement windfall. I shut it down quick. Supervised visits only. Lawyer on speed dial. But Timmy lit up around him, chattering about dinosaurs and deep-fried Twinkies. And guilt gnawed at me. What if Ethan wasn't lying? I'd never sprung for a full paternity test. Why bother when Jake bolted anyway? But now, with custody wars fresh, the lab kits from Walgreens mocked me from the bathroom cabinet. Ethan's flips kept coming. Postcards from Pekin laced with venom or velvet by turn. 1 week. Miss the kids. Tell Timmy Uncle E's drawing him a monster truck. The next. Dig up Jake's record, DUI in Lubbock.
Vic.
He's poison. I did dig. Because paranoia's my superpower now. Jake's Texas file was cleanish, misdemeanors. Bar fights, but a child support evasion warrant flickered in Oklahoma. Worse, a custody suit from an ex in Dallas, claiming alienation. He wasn't just visiting, he was circling, smelling blood in the water. Mark saw it too. Our date nights turning into strategy sessions over IPAs at the local brewpub. Cut him off, he'd urge. But I couldn't, not without proof. The controversial decision loomed. Confront Jake with the test. Risk shattering Timmy's world if he was bio dad. Or bury it deeper. Let Ethan's ghost manipulate from afar. Meanwhile, the shop thrived. A phoenix from fraud's ashes. I expanded, mobile detailing for soccer moms in the burbs. Partnerships with that solar scam's legit remnants. Mom started chemo runs. Dad tinkering in the bays like old times, their presence a tentative truce. "We're proud," Mom murmured one afternoon, folding rags while Emma napped in the office.
Proud?
After ditching my son in a hospital like discarded luggage, I bit my tongue. Because forgiveness is a weapon too, keeps them close. Off balance. But Dad's slip-ups fuel the fire. "Ethan always said you'd fold," he'd mutter. Then backpedal with coffee refills. They knew about Jake. Too, Ethan's pipeline, feeding intel to stir the pot. The betrayal layered like sedimentary rock, parents enabling the snake, brother wielding the fangs, and me, the fool who'd confessed to his crimes to keep the peace. The tension crested at Timmy's 8th birthday bash, a backyard blowout with bounce houses and face paint under Illinois skies threatening thunder. Jake showed, uninvited, bearing a big wheel and a grin that didn't fool anyone. Timmy tackled him, laughing, while I hovered like a hawk. Ethan called from prison collect. Of course, his voice crackling over the speakerphone I'd rigged for family unity. "Happy birthday, champ." Uncle E's got a surprise. The line went live to a video feed. Ethan in orange, holding a manila envelope.
Vic.
Read it to him. Inside, a court filing. Jake's name stamped as petitioner for full custody. Affidavits from witnesses claiming my instability, the abandonment reframed as my fault. Pills in my purse dusted off for Exhibit A. Chaos erupted. Jake feigned shock. I didn't sign that. But his eyes darted to his phone, buzzing in his pocket. Mom gasped. Dad cursed Ethan under his breath. Timmy froze mid-cake slice. Frosting smeared like war paint. I snatched the papers, heart hammering, and saw the forgery. Ethan's M.O. Signatures lifted from old DMV scans. But the real flip? Jake's confession. Blurted in the melee. "Ethan paid me $20K to file."
Vic.
Said it'd force her hand. Give him the shop quiet like. Paid him. My ex, the ghost dad, bought off by my brother to rip Timmy away. The crowd dispersed under gathering clouds. Neighbors whispering about that crazy family, and I loaded the kids into the van, Jake's pleas echoing in the rearview. That night, storm raging outside my suburb split level, I made the call that split me down the middle. Wired the feds Ethan's prison comms, taped calls to Jake. Blueprints for a post-parole heist on the shop's insurance. Controversial? Hell yes. It buried Jake under conspiracy charges. 5 years federal time. No contact orders ironclad. Timmy cried for weeks. Why'd Daddy lie? And I'd hold him, whispering half-truths about grown-up mistakes. Mark stuck. Proposed over pancakes with a ring from his grandma's estate. But the doubt lingered. Was Timmy his? The test kit sat unopened. A Pandora's box in the junk drawer. Ethan's final postcard arrived like clockwork. You chose wrong.
Sis.
The boy's mine, our dirty secret from that summer you don't remember. Drunk. Desperate. Before Jake.
Rape?
Blackout? Or another con. The DNA would tell. But opening it meant unraveling everything, my claim. Our bond. The revenge I'd wrought. I burned it all in the shop's incinerator. Flames devouring the lies as Dad watched.
Silent.
Some secrets stay buried, he said. And for once, I agreed. But the itch remained. A tension wire humming beneath the surface. Revenge had won the battle. Ethan caged. Jake gone. Family fragments orbiting my son. But the war? It waged in the what-ifs. The gray zones where right and wrong blurred like taillights in rain. Timmy asked once, piecing Legos into a jail cell, Will Uncle come back? I smiled, ruffling his hair. Only if we let him. And in that choice, the real power pulsed dark, debatable, deliciously American. Winter clamped down on central Illinois like a vice. Snowdrifts burying the shop's pumps and frosting the windows of my new life in crystalline denial. Mark and I tied the knot in a shotgun courthouse ceremony, him in a flannel tux rental, me in a thrift store sheath that hid the post-baby pooch. Vows exchanged over vending machine coffee while Emma gummed a crayon and Timmy fidgeted with the rings. Till these parts give out, Mark joked, slipping the band on, and I laughed. Because what else? The ceremony was small. My crew from the shop. A couple PDA stragglers. Mom and Dad in the back row looking like extras from a funeral procession. No Ethan. Of course, his appeals dragged like a bad carburetor, but his shadow loomed. A chill wind through the cracks. The shop hit its stride that season. Holiday tune-ups packing the bays with minivans belching antifreeze fumes. I ran it lean and mean. Audits clean as a whistle. Profits funneled into a college fund for the kids that could weather another family Armageddon. Dad came around daily, wrench in hand. His dementia ploy faded to occasional fog, forgetting carburetor from manifold, but never Ethan's name. Boy's a curse. He'd grumble over lunch pails. Pastrami on rye from the deli down the block. Mom's chemo-wrapped. Remission tentative. But she'd bake zucchini bread for the crew. Her way of atoning without words. Forgiveness? Not quite. Truce. Maybe. Fragile as a rusted chassis. They'd visit the kids weekends. Supervised at first. Then loose. Timmy chattering about Grandpa's fishtails. Emma stacking blocks on Grandma's lap. But trust? That was a bridge I'd burn for kindling. Jake's incarceration threw a wrench.
Though.
Letters from his Texas lawyer piled up. Habeas corpus this. Visitation rights that claiming entrapment. Ethan's puppet strings absolving him. Timmy got wind. Overhearing a call. And the questions poured. Is Daddy bad like Uncle? I'd deflect with distractions, hockey leagues, science fairs, but the seed sprouted doubt. That's when I cracked the drawer, pulled the Walgreens kit under the harsh kitchen fluorescence. Swabs collected in secret, Timmy's from a toothbrush, mine from a hairbrush, Jake's from a discarded coffee cup at his last supervised drop-off. Mailed it off with a fake return address. Heart pounding like AV8 at Redline. Results came encrypted email. 3 days before Christmas. 99.9% match. Timmy was Jake's. Biologically. Ethan's lie.
Exposed.
Relief flooded. Then rage, at the brother who dangled it like bait. At myself for ever doubting the bond we'd forged in spit-up and storybooks. But secrets breed more. Don't they? I confronted Dad over eggnog at the shop's holiday party. Tinsel-draped tool chests. Bing Crosby crooning from a boombox. Ethan's last con? What did he mean? Our dirty secret? Dad's face drained. Sherry glass trembling. Summer 98. You and him at the lake house. Party got wild, booze from the cooler. Kids sneaking off. You woke up sick. Blamed the heat.
He
said it was nothing. Nothing? The implication hung. Acrid as burnt wiring. Incest? Assault? Or teenage haze? Memory's cruel editor? I stormed out.
Snow whipping my face.
Drove to Pekin under cover of night. Visiting hours long over. But I banged on the gate till a guard relented. Ethan's smirk greeting me through plexiglass. Knew you'd come.
Vic.
The test, Jake's the dad. But I was there first. pushed you into his arms after. To cover the tracks. Family sticks together. Right? His flip was masterful. Victim to villain in a breath. You were hurting. Post-high school breakup. I comforted. It happened. Comfort? I slammed the phone. Guards hauling me out. But the seed rooted. Had I blocked it? Dissociative fog from trauma? Therapy sessions ramped up. Digging through the silt. Flashes of bonfires. Lake water lapping. A hand too familiar. Controversial doesn't cover it. It's the kind of revelation that cleaves souls. Pits biology against nurture. Consent against coercion. I didn't tell Mark, not yet. He deserved the shop's stability. Our quiet nights with board games and bad TV. But the rage metastasized. A dark star pulling orbits awry. Spring thawed the ground, but not the ice in my veins. Ethan's parole hearing loomed, early release for good behavior, model inmate with a Bible study side hustle. Mom begged intervention. He's changed. Victoria. For the grandkids. Changed? His canteen commissary log showed calls to offshore numbers. Whispers of a new scheme. Prison consulting for white-collar cons. Funneling tips to fresh fish. I gathered the threads. Fed's wiretaps. Jake's flipped testimony from Gen Pop. Dad's reluctant ledger entries from the 90s. The plan crystallized over sleepless miles on I-55. Not destruction, but detonation. I testified at the hearing. Voice steady in the fluorescent drone. Ethan's a chameleon. Your honor. Schemes from cradle to cell. The abandonment? Calculated cruelty to coerce funds for his frauds. And the secrets. I trailed off, letting the implication hang. No details spilled, but enough to taint. The board denied him another 18 months. Minimum. He raged in a follow-up letter. You bitch. Blood curses blood. But the real twist unfurled weeks later. A manila envelope postmarked Peoria. Mom's suicide note. Or so it seemed. Forgive me.
Vic. I knew about the lake.
Covered for him. Like always. The cancer's back. Won't fight this time. Pills by her bedside. Dad found her. Accidental? Intentional? Or Ethan's remote puppeteering? A final flip to martyr himself? The autopsy said overdose. But her journal, mailed posthumously, painted a portrait of complicity, enabling Ethan's every whim, from juvenile thefts to the abandonment plot, all to preserve the facade of the perfect Protestant family. We birthed a monster, she wrote, and fed it our daughters. Funeral was closed casket, rain lashing the graveside like judgment from a Baptist sky. Dad collapsed after. Real grief this time, dementia accelerating. Shop keys pressed into my palm. End it, he whispered, then faded. I did. Sold the Haven to a chain. Proceeds split with his care facility. Timmy and Emma thrived. Hockey trophies. First crushes. Mark's steady hand the anchor. But the debate raged internal. Was revenge justice? Or just vengeance's echo? I'd borne Ethan's crimes. Birthed his secrets. Abandoned nothing but illusions. The ending? No tidy bow. Ethan walks free in 27. They say reformed. Perhaps. Or scheming anew. I'll be waiting. Not with a gun. But a file. Truths unburied. Ready to bury him again. Family's a loaded deck. And I'm the dealer now. Play your hand, brother. I've got aces. In the quiet hours, Timmy asks about heaven. If Grandma's fishing with angels. I smile, ruffle his hair, Jake's eyes in my boy's face, and say, Maybe. Or maybe she's just free. Freedom's the ultimate revenge. Debatable as hell. Dark as a Midwest midnight. And damn if it doesn't taste sweet.